discretion is advised. The following episode of Scary Parre contains graphic descriptions, disturbing subject matter, and real-life accounts of violence, crime, and trauma. These stories may be unsettling and are not suitable for children or viewers who are sensitive to graphic content. The content presented is for educational and discussion purposes only. We do not glorify violence, nor do we intend to exploit the victims involved. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you choose to continue, brace yourself.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Scary Parre podcast. I'm your host, Parre T, along with my best friend, Mylah B, who is currently not available right now. She is battling a hailstorm and trying to get home, so prayers to her. Let's pray that she gets home safely. Send stars to show your support for the Parre podcast. For the Scary Parre podcast, where scary meets hustle. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to get started. Welcome back to the Scary Parre podcast, where we don't just tell stories, we break down the darkness behind them. I'm your host, Parre T, and tonight we are stepping into one of the most chilling cult stories in American history. Not just because of what happened, but because of how it happened. Because this story isn't about a man who killed people. It's about a man who got other people to do it for him. Tonight, we are talking, and I'm like super geeked up. If you know me, you know me. Tonight, we are talking all things Charles Manson. Yep, I said it. We're diving into Helter Skelter. We're diving into the family-like atmosphere that he created with his cult. And we're diving into the way that he used manipulation to manipulate a group of people to commit some heinous crimes. So dive on into it. If you are viewing, make sure you like, share, comment, repeat, interact with me, ask me questions, whatever you would like to know, I want to know, and let's get down to it. So let me go ahead and take me off the screen for a second. Let's see here. So again, the man we are talking about is Charles Manson. Let's go ahead and get his picture up so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Let's share screen. Okay. Let me make sure you can see this. Add to stage. So this man here is Charles Manson. All right. Charles Manson. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's talk about him for a second. So Charles Manson wasn't born into power. He was born into chaos, abandonment, and instability. A revolving door of reform schools and prison time, just always in and out of trouble, right? Right. So because he was always in and out of trouble, Manson didn't every time he went into prison, he was always overlooked by people, always overlooked by adults, things like that. Manson didn't come out of prison with money or connections. So unlike our other cult leaders that we talked about, Manson didn't have funds. He was not a rich person. He was not a rich cult leader. He wasn't like a Jim Jones where he used the people in his following had money, or like a Keith Raniere with the Nexium cult, where everybody there, they had money, right? Right. He wasn't like that. He didn't have connections. He didn't have status. He came out with something else when he went to prison. He came out with an understanding. So he came out with an understanding of people, an understanding of vulnerability, an understanding of how to read someone and tell them exactly what they need to hear. And that right there, baby, that's dangerous, because manipulation doesn't always come from strength. Sometimes it comes from someone who has studied brokenness up close. And let's just kind of be real here. When you come from a broken family, you are taught on how to act and move on survival and not love. You are taught that you have to manipulate things and people to get the better outcome for yourself. I want to give a shout out for you guys for sending the stars, for sharing the live, and being a part of the comments. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into segment 2, the birth of the Manson family. In the late 1960s, Manson gathered a group of mostly young followers, many of them women. They called themselves a family, but it wasn't family. It was control disguised as belonging. They lived together, isolated, sharing everything, including identity. And Manson, he positioned himself as more than a leader. He became a teacher, a prophet, a guide, and eventually something close to a god in their eyes. Okay. So hear me out. Yes, definitely a manipulator for sure. Once someone becomes your entire world, they don't need change to control you. And Manson quickly learned that. He quickly learned his following demographic that he needed, which was young. Most of them were women. Most of them liked drugs, right? Most of them liked drugs. So once you get your following demographic and you get to know, okay, if I do this if I give them this, it's going to manipulate them in my favor to make them feel like I'm a god. Oh, he's the one that can supply us everything. He's the one that can teach us how to do this. A lot of his following, when I did my research, they were teenagers, but they were older teenagers. They were fresh, like 18, 19, around that age, 18, 19, 20. So these were impressionable kids, very impressionable. And at that age, you're coming to yourself. You're just graduating high school. You're trying to figure out life. You're trying to figure out who you are. On top of you're experimenting with drugs, you're experimenting with sex. And when you are away from your parents, you're experimenting with finding your identity of who you are. This man, Charles Manson, was giving them their identity. He was giving them their drug of choice that they were addicted to. He was giving them that love and support that they were fleeing from their parents that they weren't getting. And so some of them weren't getting it. Some of them came from broken homes like him. And then not only that, he was also, like I said, giving them their identity, showing them this is who you are because I said this is who you are. This is who you are because I believe that this is who you can be. He did a lot of gaslighting and a lot of what's that word? A lot of gaslighting and a lot of it's gonna come to me because it's in my notes here and I'm going ahead of my notes. But yes, because once someone becomes your entire world, like I said, once they become your entire world, like he's got the whole world in his hands. Yeah, once they become that, they don't need the chains to control you. He didn't need chains. Let's go ahead and go to segment 3 because segment 3 is going to put some things into perspective for us. So segment 3 is titled Music, Ego, and Rejection. So a lot of my followers, you guys, and a lot of my followers, a lot of my Facebook friends, a lot of the people that I interact with, you guys are a part of the music world. So I kind of want you to correlate this and how this kind of can, in a sense, could be something that happened in Kansas City. Hear me out. Here's where things take a turn. Manson believed he was destined to be a music star. He tried to break into the industry. He even had connections in Hollywood. But when that success didn't happen, something shifted. Rejection hit his ego hard. Hey, Victor, thanks for tapping in. Thanks for everybody tapping in. I appreciate that. And instead of accepting failure, he rewrote the story. So let's break that down because this is where it gets a little dangerous, right? Rejection is not something that everybody handles the same, right? Some people handle rejection, take it by the chin, walk away. Some people handle rejection, they process it, and then they weaponize it. they use it as a weapon towards the next relationship or person. So, with that being said, this rejection, in my opinion, and you guys chime in as well, the fact that he was rejected by the music industry only drove him to have more control. He wanted more acceptance. Who's accepting him right now? The people in the Manson family, his cult, the people that he's able to easily manipulate, the 18, the 19, the 20-year-old that is fresh and impressionable. They are accepting him and accepting everything he has to say. But the music world, the world that he wants to be in, he wrote for the Beatles. So the world that he wants to be in is rejecting him left and right. So, like I said, that just fed him. That just fed him. That just fed him to want more acceptance. I honestly, I feel like it triggered that childhood hurt. He had childhood abandonment issues from his parents. From his dad was not really in his life. Mom was, she was from my research, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but from my research, mom was in and out on drugs, and then he was also in and out of those facilities as well. Jay said he was supposed to go on tour with the Beatles, but instead they stole his song. I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but to my artists, that would have sent me. That would have sent me. Now, would I have started a cult? No, I wouldn't have started a cult. But that would have sent me. That probably would have made it a Jet 2 holiday around that piece. Okay. Not even going to hold you. I probably would have been flipping the table is an understatement because how when you love music, like he loved music and he felt like that's where he should have been. And honestly, looking back at it, probably wouldn't have been in this situation had he went ahead and kept pursuing music. Had he took that rejection and turned that into fuel to his music career, we probably wouldn't be talking about Charles Manson and the Manson family massacres right now. We probably wouldn't. Well, then again, we may never know. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to go to segment 4. So segment 4 is titled Helter Skelter, the Apocalyptic Lie. So, of course, the Beatles have a song called Helter Skelter. However, Manson created a belief system called Helter Skelter. And with that belief system, he claimed that a race war was coming, a violent apocalyptic uprising. And according to him, his followers had a role to play in it. Now, here's the part that's scary, Perry. He didn't just predict chaos, he tried to start it. Jay, me and you need to talk. Because I definitely, if your aunt could kind of send me a snapshot of those letters, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm a huge Charles Manson enthusiast, and that would just kind of help my little library. So me and you definitely need to talk. But yes, he didn't just predict chaos, he tried to start it. So imagine believing someone so deeply that you're willing to help them create destruction to prove them right. Now, if you guys remember when we did a few weeks ago, when we did Waco and we talked about David Koresh, how he was able to get his followers to really believe him as the second coming of Christ was because he kept telling them the government is going to come and mess with us. The ATV or ATF is coming to mess with us. The FBI is coming to mess with us. He kept preaching that to them. And so every time the government came and knocked on their door, it was almost as if what he was prophesizing was correct. But no, you had a whole bunch of mass weapon machinery in your compound. They were coming to check out they were coming to check the spot. They was checking the temperature. But when you're preaching it to your followers of these people don't like us, they're coming to get us, they're coming to get us. And it's actually happening, they're coming to get you. It's like everything that you're saying, it's confirming what you want them to believe in. So that's exactly what Manson was doing. He was confirming what I want you to believe in, this race war, this race riot, this issue is happening. He wanted them to believe that so that he can continue to get their following. Well, along the same timeline as this happening, we do have race issues going on in the United States, in the South. We had, I believe this was kind of close to the Black Panther movement, the Rodney King movement, all that. So what he was saying was not necessarily wrong. He was capitalizing off of it to get a following. And because it was happening, they were believing this man. Crazy work. Crazy work. Manson convinced his followers that violence wasn't wrong. It was necessary. It was destiny. It was part of something bigger. And once violence gets justified as purpose, that's when things spiral. Segment 5. We're getting ready to get into some heavy things here. So what we're getting ready to get into, if you are if this is something that triggers you and you need a break from the live, go ahead and come out for about 2 to 3 minutes and then pop back in, say, hey, what's up? We are getting ready to dive into what actually happened. So segment 5 is titled The Murders That Shocked the World. In August of 1969, Manson's followers carried out a series of brutal murders. The most infamous ones, the killing of actress Sharon Tate and others in her home. And here's what makes this even more chilling. Manson didn't physically commit any of these murders. I'm going to send you a pic of his siblings, my grandma, his brother, just. Oh, I would love to see that, please. Okay, sorry, guys. 2 things at once. Okay, Manson didn't physically commit the murders. He ordered them. He influenced them. He shaped the mindset that made them possible. That's a different level of power, because it's one thing to take a life yourself. It's another thing to convince someone else to do it and believe that they're doing it for the right cause. That's crazy. So we're getting ready to dive into, I call them, let me share my screen here 1 second, because I want you guys to be a part of this with me. So we're gonna stop screen share. I want you guys to be a part of this with me. We're gonna share the screen, and I call them the Prime 9. Add to stage. Okay. So, where are the 9 key members of the Manson family today? So, the Manson family were devotees of a cult leader, Charles Manson, and many of them killed in his name in 1969. Scrolling. They murdered pregnant actress Sharon Tate, who was married to the director Roman Polanski, as well as 4 other people. Jay Sebrig, that's a different name. Wojciech Frywowski, Abigail Folger, and Stephen Parent. So, Susan Atkins, she was the one who was accused of and actually murdered Sharon Tate. In December of 1969, Susan Atkins stood outside the courtroom after testifying against accused murderer Charles Manson. This was that picture. Sorry. Scrolling and comments. I'm going to get back to you in a second. And then Leslie Van Houten, this is what she looks like in a more recent picture. She murdered Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. And then Patricia Kirkenwinkle murdered Abigail Folger and participated in the murders of Rosemary and Leno LaBianca. So here we go. Scrolling. And then Charles Tex Watson. He's kind of cute. murdered Sharon Tate, as well as Rosemary and Leno LaBianca. And this was him. This is a picture of him arriving to his arraignment hearing in March 1971. Scrolling, 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 scrolling. Okay, my computer's doing something weird, so I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, so with that being said, what's up to Phil Nelson? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. So with that being said, having someone be able to commit a murder for you, top tier. Top tier. Like it's not something I'm glorifying by any means. I just want to put that out there, but that is top tier level of manipulation. How did he control them? This is the question everyone asks. How did he get people to do this? And the answer, layers of manipulation. From isolation, which when he isolated them, they lived on, like I said, on that movie ranch. What's up, Heart of 50 States? Thanks for tuning in. They lived on that movie ranch. And the guy that owned the movie ranch, he was an older gentleman. He had said, and when I say movie ranch, it was a movie set, like a set stage where they filmed old Western movies. And he had told them, he made a deal with Charles Manson and the family. If you guys work the ground, take care of the lot, and then of course exchange sexual favors or whatever, along with drugs as well. If you guys exchange with that, you can stay here rent free. Rent free. Take care of yourselves, all that. There was children there. The women had children. Of course, some of them had them by Charles Manson, this, that, and the third. Whatever. But he isolated them. They had their own compound, if you want to call it. Kind of like Waco. Waco had their own compound. Jonestown own compound. The only cult that we talked about in this series that didn't have their own compound was the Nexium cult. Not only did he use isolation as a form of manipulation, but he also used love bombing. Like I said, these were impressionable age kids. They were 18, 19, 20, fresh out of high school. A lot of them came from broken homes and were missing that love and genuinity from a parent. And he was getting it from them. Oh, I love you. I can't do this without you. I can't take over the world without you. We can't be one solid human race without you. You are important in this whole piece. He used love bombing to manipulate them to make them feel important. Third, he used drug use. Man, them kids upon the poor babies was high. They were on all types of drugs, from the coke to the LSD to the weed. They were just high all the time. They were in an alternate state. He used identity breakdown. If you guys remember at the beginning of the show, I said he gave them their identity because they were such at an impressionable age. He told them, this is who you are. This is who you are called to be. You are called to be a follower of Charles Manson. You are called to take out the program that I had, the blueprint that I'm laying out. You are called to be a part of this blueprint, to be a part of this layout. And yes, Jay, you are correct. You are completely correct, girly. He was big on love bombing, and he did that till the day he died. Like, if you guys ever have free time, look up a recent Charles Manson interview. Look and see how that went. He did not stop. In his mind, and up until his passing, some of his followers, from my research, some of his followers were still dedicated to the cause of what he was doing and still believed that a race war was coming. Helter Skelter was going to be a thing. They still believe that. Yes, he did nickname him. Like, for instance, Tex, that was not his name. But he was such a fine individual. Y'all know I love me. Y'all know I love them white teeth. Man, listen. All right. Identity breakdown and rebuilding their belief systems. Manson made his followers feel chosen, special, and seen. Then he slowly removed their ability to think independently. So, my question that I had this question for Mylah, which I'm gonna save it for her because I have something I got to tell you guys later. So I'll ask it to you. Audience, please engage in the chat and let me know your answer to this question. Is it easier to control someone when you break them or when you make them feel like they finally belong? Is it easier to control someone when you break them down or when you make them feel like they finally belong? There's no right or wrong answer here. Just let me know what you feel. Let me know your thought pattern. To me, in my opinion, I feel like it's easier to control them when you make them feel like they finally belong because it gives them a sense of hope. It gives them a sense of you actually care about me. And I feel like they're going to be willing to do whatever it is that you want them to do. Versus the other one, controlling someone when you break them. I feel like at that point, you break them into fear. Now they're doing things out of fear. They're not doing it because it's a love, they feel a love reciprocation type of thing. They're doing it because I'm scared of the outcome. Let me just go ahead and get it done. That can, in turn, in my opinion, cause future problems later on, legal problems down the road, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, so Jay says when you make them feel like they finally belong. Okay. Anybody else viewing would like to give a comment? Is it easier to control someone when you break them or when you make them feel like they finally belong? While you guys are putting your answer in the comments, I'm going to go ahead and move to section number 7, segment 7, the arrest and the trial. So eventually the truth came out. Manson and his followers were arrested, and during the trial, Manson didn't act remorseful, he didn't act shocked, he acted in control, even in cuffs, even facing life in prison. 1 second, I have to get my video up here. So the video. Okay, so the video that I'm going to show you guys is the video of the 3 Manson girls. When they were leaving the trial, they were holding hands and they were singing. This is a pivotal moment in history because this is when we talk about the Manson, Charles Manson and the Manson murders in the trial, this often comes up, and you can kind of see how brainwashed these women were. Let me get this pulled up here. Okay, hang on. Let me share my screen. Where is it? Okay. We're going to share screen and then let me go back here and hit present. Okay, let me know if you guys can see this, if this is good enough. I may have to make it a little bigger. You see, can I? Okay.
Chose a house at random, tied up the family at gunpoint, then ordered his followers to go inside and commit ritual slaughter.
So that video, you may not have got to hear them actually singing, but I'm going to go back and play it so that you can see how they walked in united, holding hands, and they were actually singing a song. And it was actually, when you hear the audio of the song, a little kind of creepy. Very, very creepy. Okay. That's what everyone wants, is to belong. I believe that. I definitely believe everybody wants to belong as well. Okay. So, like I said, Charles Manson, during his trial, he didn't act remorseful. He didn't act shocked. He acted in control, even in handcuffs, even facing life in prison. He wanted to show that through this all, I am still very much correct. To keep that little bit of following that he still had. I'm very much correct. This is happening. These people in here wanted this to happen, and it's happening now. But that's when you realize this wasn't about crime. This was about influence. Manson was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, but his story didn't end there because his name still echoes today. And it's probably my fault because I am a Charles Manson enthusiast. And again, I'm not like supporting of what he did, but I'm just very fascinated as to how one man can have 9 other people commit murders for him. Blows me every time. Every time. So the scariest part of Charles Manson isn't the murders, it's the fact that he never had to pick up a weapon. He built a belief so strong, the others acted on it. That means the real weapon was his influence. So, question for my people in the chat, and for the people who are viewing, and for the people that are listening later. You can comment on the YouTube video. You can also comment on the Twitch and Facebook video, or you can DM me. What would it take for someone to have that level of control over you? Is that question too deep? Because I got to know. I really need to know. What would it take for someone to have that level of control over you? And before you jump the gun and say, someone could never have that control over me, you don't know. The uncomfortable truth, nobody thinks they are vulnerable to manipulation until it happens. You never know you're in that situation until, unfortunately, you're in that situation. It's always, that would never be me. I would never be manipulated like that. I'm too strong-willed and too strong-minded of a person, but you never know. So if you could think about it, what would it take for someone to have that level of control over you? While you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to give my final thought. Charles Manson didn't just create followers. He created a reality where right and wrong were rewritten, where violence became purpose, where loyalty outweighed morality. And that's what makes this story stick, because it reminds us the most dangerous people don't always do things, or don't always do worse things themselves. They convince others to do them as well. And before we wrap up episode 4 of the Scary Perry podcast, I have a few announcements that I'm going to go ahead and get out, aka it is time for advertisements. This is the show, part of the show where I give you guys advertisements of the things that are happening in the Kansas City area coming up and surrounding areas as well. So on May 9th, we have the Battle of the Food Vendors. That is again Saturday, May 9th at the Royal Mansion. It is hosted by the Get It Off Your Chest podcast and Certified Red Bone. I hear she's thick, 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 thick. Anyway, it's at the Royal Mansion from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. 6240 Raytown Traffic, Raytown, Missouri. Beat them there. Don't meet them there. Come out. They already got most of their vendor spots solidified. So this is an older flyer, but there's going to be tons of food vendors, $10 entry. And I hear, man, listen, come out, eat. Come out and eat. Just come out and eat. Let's see, what other do we have? I want to give a shout out to Knucklehead Clothing. He is the sponsor of the Parre T Management family. You can get your Knucklehead clothing at www.knuckleheadclothing.com. Again, that's www.knuckleheadclothing.com. He has hats, sweatsuits, short sets coming for the summers, t-shirts, anything you can think of, it's on that website. So again, head on over to www.knuckleheadclothing.com. And lastly, Parre T Management is accepting new clients. We are accepting clients for podcast management, artist management, brand ambassadoring, and virtual personal assisting. If you would like to schedule your consultations for us to meet virtually, you can DM me on Facebook at Perry Thompson, Instagram at Parre T Management _, and let's schedule your consultation so that we can get you going. We elevate brands around here. So we also connect the dots so that you don't have to, so that you can focus on your craft. All righty. Whew. Paratisments is done. Let's go ahead and let's wrap this up. That was episode 4 of the Scary Perry podcast, High Profile Cult Leaders miniseries. The story of Charles Manson. If this episode made you think a little deeper, question more, and realize how powerful influence can be, then you already know this conversation is far from over. So make sure you stay tapped in, because next episode, we're going even deeper into the minds of Charles Manson and other cult leaders alike. Next week, next Friday, Scary Perry will premiere next Friday at 6 p.m. And we will have attorney Michael Valencio back on, and he's going to give us the perspective of a lawyer trying a cult leader, what that looks like. How do they try it? How do prosecutors try them? Are they full to blame? Do they plead insanity? We're going to talk about all that. We have some heavy hitting questions for him, and I'm super, super excited. Again, I thank you guys for tuning into the Scary Perry podcast. Next Friday, Mylah will be back in the building with me, and we're going to be talking to Mr. Attorney Michael Valencio, and he is going to give us the rundown of how to try a cult leader. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, bye.